At the end of the day, who takes responsibility, and did Sean Dyche's substitutions contribute to the downfall?
Okay. Well, first of all, I was going to say, actually, on the player ratings, just to finish that one off, even at the best of times, even if things are all rosy in the garden, there's going to be 40,000 opinions on that one.
Yeah,
so
of
I
course.
think it's going to be, the envy Connor for that one. Like you said, it's one thing for the players who got substituted, but I don't know how you sort of score those players who were on at the end and in the back five and the way they contributed. So going back to what were your two actual points there? About Dyche taking responsibility.
Well, who takes responsibility? Is it the players? Is it the manager?
Yeah.
And then did the substitutions contribute to Everton losing that game?
I think it has to be both to start with. There, Sean Dyche actually said, and I think people can sort of look at this, and I know obviously I've already spoken to Michael Ball, head of his column, and that'll be one to watch. I mean, he's very forceful as always with his points, and I think he makes them in a good way. Sean Dyche mentioned how he could smell it. Did he say? He said he could smell it. It was happening. He could see this coming after when that first goal went in. Well, as a manager, I guess you've got to be more proactive then, haven't you? And you did see that with Bournemouth making their changes early on. And that obviously ultimately played a big part in that turnaround. For all the good and the bad, and maybe on different point of view than yourself, I've always been a strong defender of Sean Dyche. I think even Dyche's biggest fans would probably have to concede that substitutions and being proactive during games isn't one of his big points, one of his big positive points, in that you could say he's slow to change, and he's obviously... certainly, he's like the opposite of the Tinker Man, isn't he? He doesn't make changes unnecessarily, but obviously the times in games where you perhaps have to make more substitutions, and then we're living in the Premier League world now where it is 5 substitutions per game, and that can massively alter the way things go when half your outfield can be changed over a match. So it's weird because I think they use the phrase over in America, a Monday morning quarterback, whereas you sort of analyse everything in retrospect, and you can look at those substitutions and you say, well, and Dyer was causing all the problems, why did he take him off? Bournemouth were on the back foot with that, or the way that Calvert-Lewin plays, then obviously Beto doesn't hold it up as well. So you could sort of look at it in retrospect and really say, don't know about that, whereas other players were perhaps dead on the feet and should have gone off. So you can look at those substitutions, but at the time you just felt when Everton were 2-0 up, they seemed kind of like standard changes to be making in those sort of game management positions. But I mean, ultimately it was at the back, wasn't it, where it all fell apart such horrendous fashion. So yeah, you could look at the substitutions as well, and that is one thing. Even the Dyche's strongest defenders, and I've said a lot of things positive about Sean Dyche, and this would actually say that substitutions are not one of his strong points, and there's got to be question marks in retrospect of what happened there.
I mean, rightly so, though. You've said a lot of positive things about Sean Dyche. I think no one can argue with that. In the past. I mean, Connor, the substitutions, let's stick with it. There didn't seem to be any logical reason behind the two that he made. For me, Sean Dyche makes the first one because he thinks the game is won and he wants to give Dyer, the applause, the adulation. And then when that happens, we concede. It's the second one for me that's the worst. Now, I know Beto wasn't initially, or he wasn't directly involved in conceding any of the goals, but he's for me, not that sort of player that you bring on when you might start to be a little bit under the cosh. He's a pinball machine, of a striker. He can't hold the ball up. He's got no first touch. What you want your striker to do in that instance is to be strong, to draw fouls, to do all those type of things. Everything that Dominic Calvert-Lewin was doing at the time, and to bring him off with only a couple of minutes to go. It's not like he was that tired that he needed to bring him off with a couple of minutes to go.
Well, not after this happens, but I agree with everything you just said there. And that doesn't always happen. That doesn't always happen. No, the one for me, going back to the first substitution, I will have sympathy for Sean Dyche here because I kind of see what he was trying to do. I think he thought Dyer was a little bit tired, and I think he thought bringing the core on might stretch the game, and he could maybe, he's got a bit more legs to get around the pitch. I personally wouldn't have brought the core on. I'd brought James Garner on just to get some control, because I think James Garner's quite good at getting on the ball, keeping things ticking over, winning tackle. Like we saw him towards the back end of last season when he played alongside Idrissa Gueye. He was just good at doing the hard yards with Idrissa Gueye, and Everton with the benefits of that. I would have brought James Garner on for that, just to see the game up basically and not do nothing stupid, just go on, kind of the head kick and tackle, keep things simple. So I have sympathy with Sean Dyche on the end substitution. I just think he brought the wrong person on into core. I'd have brought James Garner on personally.
So you still would have taken Dyche off, but you would have brought Garner on?
I mean, I'm not saying I would have took him off, but I can see the reasoning behind why maybe he wants to make that substitution and introduce some fresh legs. And obviously, he's probably thought as well by putting Dwight McNeil onto the left, that would, give a little bit more energy. And obviously, Dwight McNeil's more natural there. Can play a bit more defensive minded, I think, as well. I think it's safe to say. But I do agree on the Calvert-Lewin Beto one. I was flabbergasted. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think he's managed to make that when it's 2-0. Because I think it was quite interesting, wasn't it, that literally Bournemouth scored and they made the substitution. Because it was clear, I think they must have been waiting to do it for when before they've scored, but they still done it. I think one thing about Saturday's show to me is there's no debate now about who's Everton's best forward is at the football club. It's Dominic. I mean, me and Chris have the champion Calvert-Lewin all summer, but he's the best forward Everton have got by an absolute country mile. Yeah. I thought once he got that goal on Saturday, he played like a man possession. You could see that it gave him a huge confidence boost. But even before that, in the first half, he just holds the ball up like no one else can. There was times where he's running down the corners. I think there's one where he chased the lost cause and ends up winning the corner. And that type of side to his play, no one can match. And I just think them final few minutes were crying out for him just to carry on, hold the ball up at the pitch, relieve the pressure. And he's used to doing that because obviously, I was fortunate to speak to him last season after one game, and and he basically referenced himself and said, well, when I play number 9, there's a lot of pressure on me because I'm up there by myself and I know I've got a real big job to do. I don't really have anyone who plays off me. It's my responsibility to hold the ball up, relieve the pressure off the back four, allow the midfield to get up the pitch. And I think as soon as he went off on Saturday, Everton lost all hope of doing that. And it come at the worst possible time because that was when we were crying out for someone just to be able to hold the ball up, relieve the pressure, try and win maybe a few silly free kicks, just to kill a bit of time. As soon as Beto come on, Beto's wild, isn't he? And he's a bit erratic, but I don't think he hasn't got the hold up play that Calvert-Lewin possesses, and that was clear to see because nothing really stuck to it in them closing minutes up top. And if anything, it felt like every time the ball went forward, no sooner did it go forward, it was coming back at Everton, and there was just massive gaps all over the pitch. So I have sympathy with the Ndiaye one. I think it was the wrong personnel where Sean Dyche went wrong there, but the Calvert-Lewin one just left me scratching my head because I think Beto just doesn't offer what Calvert-Lewin does, and I think them last few minutes, if anything, we're crying out for Calvert-Lewin just to hold the ball up and relieve some pressure.